Hello and welcome to D20 Woodworking, and today we are doing a review of Phoenix, one of the X-Men heroes for Marvel Champions, the card game. Now, if you followed back with my previews and all that stuff, this was the X-Men hero I was the most excited for, right? The other ones seemed okay, they seemed fine, nothing spectacular to me or anything like that. And this was also the first X-Men I received in the mail, fun fact. But it was the one I was most excited for because I like her hero, I like her character in the shows and the movies and all that fun stuff. But one of the things that seemed kind of interesting was how was restrained and unleashed side upgrades going to work, right? How is that going to work? Was it going to be pretty easy to do? Was it going to be important to switch back and forth? Like, what was that mechanic going to be? And I've done a bunch of plays with her now, and it's been pretty interesting. It's been pretty interesting. She's gone a different direction than I thought she would, which I really, really, really enjoy. So let's dive in. Let's go look at her cards. And then, yeah, we'll talk all about it. All right, so let's start with the Jean Grey side, right? A 3 recovery is kind of weak, to be completely honest. But that's fine. First step, you do the whole Phoenix Force thing. We'll talk about that in a second with 4 power counters. After you make a basic recovery, you place 1 power counter on Phoenix. 6 hand size, 9 hit points. The 9 hit points was kind of rough. Endurance on her was not absolutely necessary, but I felt like I always had to put endurance on her. I felt like I was missing something if I didn't do endurance with her. So, as far as this side goes, it's fine. Her recovery is a little weak for what I would like. The whole Phoenix Force power counter thing, we'll get into in a second. So here's her actual hero card, which was always fascinating because she had 3 thwart, right? 3 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. And Psionic Bond, you remove one of the power counters from Phoenix Force and you generate a resource. So right off the bat, right, you have 4 counters on there. You can use it once per phase. So possibly up to twice around, which is pretty cool. So for me, before I even started playing Phoenix, I thought it was gonna be this weird, delicate balance of like adding counters, subtracting counters. Like, what do I do exactly? All this fun stuff. Because do I want to flip her? Do I not want to flip her? Right. That was always gonna be kind of the challenge with this. So when we look at the Phoenix Force card, it's a permanent upgrade. And you gain when it comes in, it's on the restrained trait, and after you remove the last counter, it flips. So when it flips, she goes to unleashed. Right. Everything's unleashed. You lose 2 your thwart, so you still have 1 thwart, but you gain 2 attack. And then after power counters are placed here, if there are 4 or more counters on here, you flip this card. So right, it's not automatic flipping. It would take a bit to flip over. And there's a kind of this long debate online of, well, do you just flip her right away? Do you not? Like, how do you make this work? And what's kind of interesting is when we go through her cards, keep an eye out for what restrain does versus what unleash does, right? Those are the 2 keywords we want to keep in mind. So Cyclops, a 3/2/2/3 ally, does the whole place 2 power counters on Phoenix, and when Cyclops leaves play, remove 2 power counters from Phoenix Force. This worked best for me when I could play Cyclops when I was already unleashed, because it didn't matter if I used those counters. I didn't have to to use them, right? I have to remove the 2. Like, if you have the 2, you remove the 2, but if there's none to remove, then you can't remove them and you're good, right? So it's kind of nice in that sense that, like, if you're already on leash side and you used all your counters already, right, and then you use Cyclops to get 2 more, it's like 2 more free wild resources that you can basically use. And if you make sure you use both of them before Cyclops leaves play, so you got 2 extra resources, which is actually kind of really, really cool. I think it makes an interesting dynamic, and it's almost like it's a time better when to play him. Now, of course, when you're on the restrained side, yes, okay, it's 2 extra counters and you're up to like 6 or 5 counters or whatever now, and it's fine. But it kind of stinks then when he leaves play and all of a sudden, like, you drop back down to normal, right? It feels like you got like this weird temporary boost, but not like a really good boost. So for me, it worked really well playing Cyclops kind of after I was already unleashed. So White Hot Room was an interesting card. I basically used it to heal because a lot of times I would want to flip down. I would white hot or do a white hot heal, and before I was thwarting, and then when I flip back up, I want to thwart again with my 3. So again, this was a card I used a lot on restrained side, and I didn't really put power counters on. I just used it as a 4 heal pretty much overall, and that seemed to work pretty well for me. Maybe I could have paired it with like a crew quarters too, and then done like 6 each round, or each time you flip down. I think that would have worked, but I didn't know if I was going to use this for placing power counters. I never really did. I used it straight up for healing damage. And then Phoenix Suit. So this is one of the things that made things kind of interesting at first with gaining steady and then gaining retaliate. Now this is the one card where it seems like, okay, being on a restrained side was beneficial with Phoenix Suit, because when you're on that restrained side, you do gain steady. Now, if you already have a confused or stunned card token on you, and then you went to Unleashed, all of a sudden you'd be stunned or confused. So you have to kind of make sure you weigh that and realize what's going on there. But if it's confused, it's not so bad because you're probably not thwarting anyway when you're Unleashed. So, and the aerial trait, I'm a big fan of the aerial trait, so I'm always happy to see that in there. Rise from the Ashes. So this is a lot like, you know, Cap's helmet, or what is it, Ticket to the Multiverse, I think is the other one. But any of those cards, like when you die and then you get resurrected, essentially. This one was pretty awesome. This one I used a fair amount of times because you did get to ready your identity. You get to restore your hit points back to the printed value, and you did have to remove all the tokens. So it would force you to go to your Unleashed side, which sometimes worked out in your benefit. This card I actually liked a lot, and I would play a lot because to get 9 health back and to be readied up again was pretty cool. Like, it was pretty good. It's really, really useful. So I really like this card. This was a good one. Telekinetic Shield was a really good card as well, right? Because if you figure it out right, if you do the math right, one attached character, and this can be yourself, would take damage from an enemy attack, place that damage here instead. Then, if there are at least 5 damage counters here, discard Telekinetic Shield. So it's not when there is 5. It's after the attack, right? When an attached character would take damage from the attack, place the damage here instead. Then, right, if there are at least 5 damage tokens here, discard Telekinetic Shield. There were times when I would have 4 on there and get hit with another 4, so there's 8 total. So there was at least 5. Then I would discard the Telekinetic Shield. So it was able to absorb a lot more than 5 if you time it right? If you do everything right, which is really cool. For a 2-cost upgrade, this was a really, really good card to have. I really like that card. All right, Mental Paralysis. I didn't use this a lot. I'm going to be honest. I like the idea of it, right? Hero form only, attached to a non-elite minion. Attached minion can't activate, which can be good for not getting attacked a bunch. It wasn't bad. I think I used it a couple times, but there was other cards I'd rather have saved up for. And especially with flipping the alter ego, you lose the card. I get why they did it, but I don't love it. Because you can't use it as like a free way to confuse a minion. I don't know. It wasn't as good to me. And again, it's a non-elite minion, which I get for a 2-cost. It's fine, but it was just a card I personally did not find myself playing that often. Mind Control, I wanted to play a lot. I wanted to play this card a lot, but for a 4-cost upgrade, it was always too expensive for me. Now, maybe if I, as more X-Men cards come out and I get more resource generators, maybe then it becomes a thing where it's like, okay, then it makes sense. You know, when I played it with a Helicarrier, it made a bit more sense when I played with team building, right? Because it's a psionic card. And for those that don't remember, we are a psionic X-Men. So with team building, which has also been a pretty good support. I think it's a support card for Phoenix. But anyway, those cards combined made it easier to play Mind Control, but it still wasn't this card I felt like I had to play a lot or that often. A lot of the minions I was worried about were elite minions, so I couldn't do it anyway. Non-elite minions, there were very few like super strong ones I really had to deal with that often that I didn't have another plan for. So Mind Control didn't get played as much as I would have liked. Telekinetic Attack. When you are unleashed, this is a gross card. It's a 3-cost, can be 9 damage with overkill, which is huge. Even without being unleashed, it's 3 for 7 isn't bad, right? It's a little bit weaker than some of the stronger ones out there. I think there's some 3 for 8s out there, but 3 for 7 is like a legit amount. And the fact that if you go on your unleashed side, that you gain 2 additional damage with overkill, you're starting to take out minions, you're doing crazy amounts of damage onto the villain. It's a really good card. It's a really, really good card. It's a fantastic attack to apply. And especially when you're on the unleashed side, we will get into more of this later, but you're really just trying to be aggressive anyway. So Psychic Blast was pretty interesting too on your normal side. It's 4 damage to the villain. I don't like that it's 4 damage to the villain. I wish it was 4 damage to an enemy. Because when you're on the restrained side, it kind of really pigeonholes you, especially if there's like a guard or something like that. Not a guard, but just something that like prevents you from like attacking the villain or whatever. So there was that. If you have the Unleashed trait, deal 4 damage to each minion engaged with you. It's pretty awesome. I really like that card, so that works out pretty well. Again, once you're Unleashed, again, we're seeing everything kind of going towards super aggressive with Unleashed. Telepathic Trickery, remove 4 threat from a scheme. This is, in my opinion, a pretty darn good thwart card. If you unleash, you stun and confuse an enemy, which was really strong in my games, really useful. Phoenix Firebird's hero action. You can remove 1 power counter to Ready Phoenix, which was huge, or place 2 power counters on Phoenix. Sometimes it was nice to balance this out, right? But it was nice to sometimes pay for this card with a power counter, and then you would remove the power counter to ready up Phoenix, which was kind of like an interesting little way you can use 2 counters if you're trying to like get through them faster, and we'll get into why that's possibly a thing later on. And there was 2 of those cards. So what I want to talk about, I'm not going to go into all of our other cards, but one of the things that was interesting, Burning Hunger is the one reason why you might not want to be unleashed, right? Because if you are unleashed, you have to bring in Dark Phoenix and reveal her, and we'll get into why that's a bad thing in a second. But if you're restrained, you remove 1 power counter from Phoenix Force and discard this, or the card gains surge and discard it, right? That's not that bad. But unleashed side can be pretty bad. Dark Phoenix is rough. Now, if you're already unleashed against Dark Phoenix, it's better. It's not super easy, but it is better. It's more manageable. But Dark Phoenix has a 2/2/12 with steady, tough, and villainous is insane. When she schemes, she does it onto the world thing. Consume the World wasn't terrible. Like it was something that like you had to divert your attention to, and you have to keep it down at 0. In solo games, like your mindset's already there, right? So for pure solo, you're like, okay, I have to keep this down at 0 because you want to get rid of this boost icon. But it comes in with 6. Thwarting for 6 isn't too bad, especially if you're on the restrained side, right? Restrained side, you can do it in 2 rounds basically. You just have to kind of figure it out. But if there were villains out there, or module sets that basically add to side schemes, that kind of stinks with this. And then Fiery Rage, there's 3 of them. If Dark Phoenix is in play, she activates against you. That stinks. If she's not in play, place 1 threat and consume the world, and this card gains surge. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not great. But for treacheries go, I think this treachery is actually kind of tame compared, as long as you prioritize getting rid of Dark Phoenix, right? Get rid of Dark Phoenix as fast as humanly possible, and then focus on Consume the World. That's how I would look at it. All right, so this game sets you up in the Justice deck, which I thought was going to be the way to play her when I first saw her, especially for solo, right? I always lean Justice whenever I play this stuff. And I thought with Justice, this is going to be the way you play her. And her Justice cards are interesting enough. I mean, nothing too crazy. Psychic Manipulation is kind of interesting of a card, but I wasn't super impressed. Mission Training was probably one of the better ones, I guess. Cerebro is a good card. Storm's fine. But there wasn't anything in her deck. The one thing I will say too is her precon was trash. I'm sorry. I like Phoenix. Her precon was not good. It was way too expensive for what she is. As you get more cards, I'm going to guess this is alleviated, and you mix in old cards because I was trying for a while not to mix in too many old cards, but you just have to. Helicarrier team building, was the X-Jet or whatever, is going to be a staple, I think. Just something with resource generator is going to help. With resource generators being said, the fact that you start off with 4 wild resources on your hero is really, really nice. It's really, really helpful. So with the Justice aspect, I thought it was going to be the way to play her. It made the most sense, but really, thwarting for 3 is kind of huge, especially in solo. Thwarting for 3, you're pretty golden, it seems like. I thought I was going to have to worry more about thwarting super early on to try to keep things under control, and I really didn't. There was very few games when threat got out of hand early on. It was very, very few. Because here's the thing, Telepathic Trickery is a good card, right? It is a good card. It's kind of easy to play. Getting allies out there that can help you thwart is good, but her thwarting 3 off the bat is really, really good. So what I basically did is I started playing aggression with her. Her in aggression is crazy, especially when she has aerial, because there are things like dive bomb you can do for massive amounts of damage. And if you set up where you build out a little bit, you stay in your restrained form, you build out, you get her upgrades and all that fun stuff out there, and whatever. Make sure you get Rise from the Ashes out there. It's really, really helpful. And put some allies out there that help you thwart, build out. Once you do, I'm kind of rushing to get rid of my tokens then. It never felt like I was trying to do this weird balancing game of like adding more tokens. And this might be a bigger thing in multiplayer, is you don't want her to go to Unleashed side too soon. But as far as solo goes, I was almost rushing to get her to the Unleashed side. But by like, it seemed like round 5-ish, I was almost ready to go, if not ready to go at that point, where, okay, I was making sure to use my last resources and then trying to flip down or flip to unleashed. And then once you're unleashed, yeah, you have your 2/4 telepathic trickery and maybe some allies to help you with thwarting, but past that, not much else. But the amount of attack you can do on minions, especially with what is it, Psychic Blast, right? Psychic Blast was a huge card unleashed. I mean, the minions came out, and it did not slow me down. I could demolish them. Like they were not an issue. It was amazing. Telepathic Attack or Telekinetic Attack, sorry, was a huge card. If there was a really strong minion, 9 damage takes out most minions. For solo especially, right? It's insane. Cyclops getting unleashed, as I mentioned before, was huge. Getting 2 more wild resource tokens and not being forced to flip to restrain was actually more beneficial than I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be this thing where you want to flip back and forth a lot. You don't, right? You want to set up, stay on hero restrain side, then flip down when you're ready to just like go. And once Phoenix goes and you're properly built out, she can attack hard and heavy. It's kind of really cool. It's kind of really, really fun. And you feel super powerful. And I like it. I did have one instance where what was it? The Burning Hunger kind of brought Dark Phoenix back out and consumed the world. Brought them out and consumed the world. This did kind of stink because it's like having Shadows in the Past in there twice. But here's the thing. If I'm unleashed, I'm hitting her with a telekinetic attack and something else and knocking her out pretty fast, right? The hardest part is consume the world. At that point, we're like trying to get the threat back down to manageable levels. But I felt like once I was like built up and ready to go, like if you got burning the world or burning world, whatever it's called, consume the world, sorry, and Dark Phoenix. If you got them early on, it was really, really hard to recover from that. It was really hard. But if you got them like mostly built out, or especially like completely built out, it wasn't hard. Like I felt like you were really kind of going and there was very little that could truly stop you. Stuns did stink, right? You have to clear your stun, but if you had a big attack event, it didn't matter. And being able to swing for 3 just naturally was huge. Then I put on, it gave me +1 attack and that let me do a lot more damage. Like Phoenix was able to be basically 2 different types of heroes in one. And I think that was a really kind of cool thing. So you were able to be that solo thwarting, control the board in the beginning, and then switch to that like really fun aggression build. Honestly, Phoenix is a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing her. I had kind of high expectations for her, but not like overly high. And I think they were met, maybe exceeded, because Phoenix aggression was a lot more fun to beat. I still like Justice Phoenix. I think Justice Phoenix works fine. Aggression Phoenix works really well. It's a lot of fun. And I think as they build out the psionic trait and do more with it, I think it'll be even better. So, overall, I really liked Phoenix. I thought Phoenix was a better hero than I thought it would be. Again, I like Justice a lot, and I would still play Justice a lot with her, but I think aggression was kind of the way to go, especially if you build out properly. I think it was a lot of fun and really, really cool. So anyway, that's my general thoughts of Phoenix. Down in the comments, excuse me, down in the comments, make sure you scroll down, hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave a comment what you may like about, or what you like about Phoenix, what you don't like about Phoenix, whatever else. And then while you're down there, if you want to check out, hit the join button. We now have memberships on this page. There's a bunch of different tiers starting at 99 cents. You can join and support this channel. And you get cool emotes and badges and all that fun stuff. So, if you want to support this channel, make sure to do that down there. And yeah, I'm excited to get her to the table again. I just got to finish reviewing the rest of this stuff. See you next video.